The spark that lit the Fire Nexus station hung in the void like a metallic flower, its 8 massive arms stretching into the darkness of space. Each arm housed different species, different cultures, different dreams. At the heart of this sprawling structure, where all the arms met, lay the central hub, a place where the galaxy's most challenging technical problems came to die. Maya Chun wiped the sweat from her brow as she emerged from beneath a massive power coupling. The Nexus station's main energy distributor had been failing for weeks. 3 different alien engineering teams had tried to fix it. The Corvan Empire's best technicians had declared it impossible to repair without completely rebuilding the entire system. The Solani experts had suggested abandoning this section of the station entirely, but Maya had seen something they missed. The harmonic frequency is off by 0.03%, she explained to Dr. Alara, a tall, graceful being from the Vorthan Collective who served as the station's chief science officer. Alara's silver skin shimmered with curiosity as she watched the young human work. Your people were trying to force the energy flow through the damaged pathways. I'm creating a resonance bridge that works with the damage instead of against it. Maya's hands moved with practiced precision, her fingers dancing across alien circuitry as if she had designed it herself. She had spent years studying xenotechnology, fascinated by how different species approached the same fundamental problems of energy and matter. Where others saw incompatible systems, Maya saw opportunities for creative solutions. The power coupling hummed to life, its previously erratic energy flow smoothing into a steady, powerful stream. Throughout the station, lights brightened and systems that had been running on emergency power for weeks roared back to full capacity. Remarkable, Alara breathed, her voice carrying the musical quality of her species. How did you know it would work? Maya shrugged, gathering her tools. Sometimes you have to think like the machine, not like an engineer. Every system wants to work perfectly. You just have to help it find the way. Around the maintenance bay, other workers had stopped to watch. Word spread quickly through the station's communication networks. The human had fixed what the galaxy's best minds couldn't. For Maya, it was just another day's work. She had no idea that her success had been noticed by eyes that viewed human achievement as a personal insult. Commander Ziktar of the Corvan Empire stood on the observation deck overlooking the central hub, his massive frame rigid with barely contained fury. The Corvans were warriors first, conquerors by nature, and they prided themselves on their technological superiority. They had ruled this sector of space for 3 centuries, and their engineering prowess was legendary. A human, a member of that soft, weak species from the outer rim, had succeeded where Corvan masters had failed. Ziktar's scaled skin darkened with rage. His people had spent weeks on that power coupling, pouring resources and reputation into the effort. Now this insignificant creature had made them look like fools in front of the entire station. The insult burned in his chest like molten metal. Sir? His aide, Lieutenant Vexra, approached cautiously. The station administrator has sent their thanks for our efforts. They're crediting the repair to collaborative interspecies cooperation. Collaborative? Zektar's voice was a low growl that made nearby aliens step away. That human made us look incompetent. This cannot stand. Maya was packing her equipment when the crowd parted around her. She looked up to see a towering figure, approaching over 2 meters tall, covered in metallic scales that gleamed under the station's lights. A Corvan officer, by the look of his uniform. She had worked with Corvans before and found them to be proud, but generally professional. You are the human who repaired the power coupling, Zektar said, his voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed without question. Maya Chun, she replied, offering a polite nod. And yes, I managed to get it working. Again, it was actually a fascinating problem. The Corvin design philosophy is quite impressive, very robust and powerful. I just had to approach it from a different angle. The compliment, meant to be gracious, only inflamed Zektar's anger. She was patronizing him, speaking as if she understood Corvin engineering better than the Corvins themselves. "You think yourself superior to Corvin engineers?" he demanded, stepping closer. His bulk cast a shadow over Maya, who barely reached his chest. Maya blinked, confused by the hostility. "Not at all. I just had a fresh perspective. Sometimes that's all it takes. Your people built an amazing system. I just found a way to make it work around the damage." "Lies," Zektar snarled. "You seek to humiliate the Corvin Empire, to make us appear weak before the other species. This was deliberate sabotage of our reputation." The crowd around them had grown larger, drawn by the raised voices and the obvious tension. Dr. Alara pushed through the gathering aliens, her expression concerned. "Commander Zektar," she said diplomatically, "surely there's no need for hostility. Ms. Chan's repair benefits everyone on the station. We should be celebrating this success." "Success?" Zektar whirled on the Vorthan scientist. "This human has made fools of us all." She waited until Corvin engineers declared the task impossible, then swooped in to claim glory. It was planned, calculated, designed to embarrass us. Maya stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "Commander, I assure you that wasn't my intention. I was asked to look at the problem after the previous attempts failed. I'm sorry if my success has caused offense, but I was just doing my job." The quiet dignity in her voice, the complete absence of fear or submission, pushed Zektar beyond reason. How dare this tiny creature speak to him as an equal? How dare she apologize for his humiliation as if she were granting him a favor? "Your job?" he roared. "Your job is to know your place, human. Your species exists at the sufferance of your betters. You are laborers, maintenance workers, nothing more. You do not show up the Corvin Empire and walk away unmarked." The crowd fell silent. Even by the standards of interspecies relations, this was going too far. But Zektar was beyond caring about diplomatic niceties. Maya stood her ground, though she could feel the weight of the commander's fury. "I'm not trying to cause problems, Commander. I'm just an engineer trying to keep the station running." "An engineer?" Zektar's laugh was harsh and mocking. "You are nothing, a speck of dust pretending to be a star. Let me remind you of your true nature." He reached out with one massive hand and shoved Maya hard in the chest. The force of the blow sent her stumbling backward, her toolkit scattering across the deck. She hit the wall hard, the breath knocked from her lungs. The crowd gasped. Physical violence between species was strictly forbidden on Nexus Station. But Zektar wasn't finished. "Asterisk, stay down," he commanded as Maya struggled to her feet. "Know your place, human. Your kind exists to serve, not to think." Maya looked up at him, her dark eyes blazing with quiet fury. There was no fear there, no submission, just a burning resolve that made Zektar take an involuntary step back. "I know exactly who I am," she said quietly, blood trickling from a cut on her lip. "The question is, do you know what you've just done?" Before Zektar could respond, Dr. Alara stepped between them. "Security," she called. "We need security to the central hub immediately." But the damage was already done. Dozens of beings had witnessed the assault. Recording devices had captured every moment. Within hours, the footage would spread across the galactic communication networks, reaching every civilized world in known space. That Maya gathered her scattered tools with as much dignity as she could manage. Her hands were steady, but Alara could see the tremor of suppressed rage in her movements. "Maya," the Vorthan scientist said softly, "are you all right?" "I'm fine," Maya replied, though her voice was tight with controlled emotion. "Just remind me to file a complete report about this incident. Every detail." As she walked away, her footsteps echoing in the suddenly quiet hub, none of the watching aliens could have imagined what they had just witnessed. They saw a human engineer, assaulted and humiliated, walking away in apparent defeat. They didn't see the spark that had just been lit across the galaxy. In the heart of humanity's home system, Earth's unified command received the first reports of the incident within 6 hours. By the next day, the footage had been analyzed, verified, and forwarded to the highest levels of human government. President Elena Vasquez watched the recording 3 times in her secure office beneath Geneva. Each viewing made her expression harder, her resolve stronger. "Ma'am?" her aide asked quietly. "Your response?" Vasquez was quiet for a long moment, staring at the frozen image of Maya picking herself up from the deck, blood on her face, but defiance in her eyes. "Cancel all diplomatic meetings with Corvin representatives," she said finally. "Recall our ambassadors from all Corvin worlds. And get me Admiral Harrison." "Yes, ma'am." "And the public response?" "There won't be one. Not yet." The aide looked confused. "Ma'am?" Vasquez turned to face him, and he saw something in her eyes that made him step back. It was the look of a predator that had just caught the scent of prey. "Sometimes," she said quietly, "the most powerful response is silence. The Corvins will learn what it means to harm a human, but they'll learn it on our terms, in our time, in our way." Maya Chun wasn't just an engineer. She was Earth's eyes and ears in this sector, one of hundreds of humans placed throughout the galaxy to watch, learn, and report. Her technical skills were real, her achievements genuine, but her true mission had always been to assess alien capabilities and reactions. The assault had been unexpected, but it had also provided Earth with something invaluable, justification for what was coming next. As Maya settled in for the night, she allowed herself a small smile. Commander Zektar thought he had humiliated a helpless human engineer. He had no idea that he had just declared war on the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Tomorrow, the real lesson would begin. Asterisk when Earth answers. First sign that something had changed came 3 days after the incident. Commander Zektar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Corvin destroyer Iron Talon, reviewing patrol reports when his communications officer looked up with confusion. "Sir, we've lost contact with Patrol Group 7. Zektar barely glanced up from his tactical display. "Equipment failure. Have them switch to backup communications." "We've tried all frequencies, sir. They're simply ... gone." That got the commander's attention. Patrol Group 7 consisted of 3 heavy cruisers and a support frigate, patrolling the border between Corvin space and the Outer Rim territories, where humans were known to operate small trading vessels. "Gone how?" Sektar demanded. "Unknown." "Sir, they reported normal status at their last check-in 6 hours ago. Since then, nothing. Long-range sensors show no debris, no distress signals, no indication of battle." Zektar frowned. "4 ships didn't just vanish. Dispatch a search squadron. Full sensor sweep of their patrol route." But the search squadron found nothing. Not a trace of wreckage, not a hint of what had happened. It was as if 4 heavily armed Corvin warships had simply been erased from existence. Over the next week, the pattern repeated. Single ships, then small groups, began disappearing from the edges of Corvin space. Always the same. No distress signals, no evidence of battle, no survivors. Just empty space where proud Corvin vessels had been. The Corvin High Command was baffled. Their enemies were well known. The Zelani Confederation was too far away. The Vorthan Collective was pacifist by nature, and the various minor species lacked the military capability for such precise strikes. Pirates were ruled out immediately. No pirate force in the galaxy could make Corvin. Warships disappear without a trace. That left only one possibility that none of them wanted to consider. Admiral Corthaz, Supreme Commander of the Corvan Navy, stood before the holographic display in the Empire's war room. Red dots marked the locations of vanished ships, 17 vessels in 10 days, all along the border with human space. "It's them," he said finally, the words tasting bitter in his mouth. "The humans." The assembled officers stirred uneasily. General Vorthak, head of Corvan intelligence, shook his massive head. "Impossible. Human technology is primitive. Their ships are small, lightly armed. They have no military tradition, no warrior culture. They're traders and diplomats, not soldiers." "Then explain this." Admiral Corthaz gestured to the display. "Explain how 17 of our ships have vanished along the human border. Coincidence? Space pirates using human space as a base. Equipment failures. 17 ships?" The Admiral's voice cracked like a whip. "All with the same equipment failure? All in the same region? Don't insult my intelligence, General." Before anyone could respond, the chamber's communication system activated. A voice filled the room. Human, female, speaking in perfect Corvan. "Corvan High Command, this is Captain Sarah Torres of Earth's Unified Space Command. I believe we need to talk." The assembled officers looked around in shock. The war room was the most secure facility in the Corvan Empire. Its communication systems were encrypted with quantum-level security. For a human to break through there, defenses so casually was impossible. "How are you accessing this channel?" Admiral Corthaz demanded. "The same way we've been accessing everything else," came the calm reply. "Your security systems are remarkably sophisticated, Admiral. Unfortunately for you, we've been studying them for quite some time." On the chamber's main display, the image of 17 vanished ships was replaced by something that made every Corvan in the room step back in horror. It showed the Iron Fist, one of their missing destroyers, but it wasn't destroyed. It was intact, floating in space, but completely dark. No lights, no power, no life signs. "Your ships are unharmed," Captain Torres continued. "Your crews are alive and well, though somewhat confined. Consider them ... guests. The question now is how much you value their return." General Vorthak found his voice. "This is an act of war, human. Release our ships immediately, or face the full might of the Corvan Empire." The human's laugh was soft, but somehow more chilling than any roar of rage. "General, I think you misunderstand the situation. You don't get to make demands. 3 days ago, one of your officers assaulted a human citizen. We tried diplomatic channels. We tried proper procedures. Your government's response was to ignore our communications and increase military patrols along our border." Admiral Corthaz felt a cold realization settling in his stomach. The engineer. The incident on Nexus Station. Maya Chun, one of our people, doing her job, helping to solve problems that your people couldn't. For her troubles, she was publicly humiliated and physically assaulted by Commander Zektar. We have footage, witnesses, documented evidence. Your response was silence. "That was a minor diplomatic incident," the Admiral protested. "Hardly worthy of what?" The human's voice cut through his words like a blade. "Of stealing our ships? Of threatening our people? Admiral, you seem to be operating under some severe misconceptions about humanity. Allow me to correct them." The display changed again. This time, it showed not Corvan ships, but human vessels. But these weren't the small trading craft the galaxy was familiar with. These were warships, sleek, predatory things that seemed to bend light around their hulls. And there were hundreds of them. "For the past 50 years, Captain Torres continued, while the galaxy saw us as harmless traders and diplomats, we've been preparing, building, learning, Every diplomatic mission was also a reconnaissance mission. Every trade agreement included technical exchanges that taught us your weaknesses. Every act of kindness was repaid with detailed intelligence about your military capabilities. The ships on the display moved with impossible grace, their formations perfect, their technology clearly beyond anything the Corvins had ever encountered. We learned that the Corvins pride themselves on their military might, that they see other species as inherently inferior, that they respond to diplomacy as weakness and negotiation as invitation to exploit. So we prepared accordingly. General Vorthek was shaking with rage. You dare to threaten the Corvin Empire? We have ruled this sector for 3 centuries. Your fleets are impressive, the human interrupted. 17 ships worth of impressive. But they have a fundamental flaw, General. They assume their enemies will fight them directly. Ship to ship, fleet to fleet, in glorious battle where the strongest warrior wins. Asterisk, the display showed tactical footage of the disappeared Corvin ships. But they hadn't been destroyed in battle. Instead, small human craft, barely visible on sensors, had attached themselves to the Corvin vessels like parasites. Cutting tools had sliced through armor as if it were paper. Boarding parties had moved through ship corridors with mechanical precision. We don't fight fairly, General. We fight to win. Your ship's crews never had a chance to resist because they never saw us coming. Your sensors couldn't detect our stealth systems. Your weapons couldn't target what they couldn't track. Your armor couldn't stop tools designed specifically to cut through it. Admiral Korthaz watched the footage with growing horror. His mighty warships, pride of the Corvin military, had been taken apart like children's toys by enemies they never even saw. What do you want? He asked finally. Simple. Commander Zektar will be delivered to Nexus Station within 72 hours. He will publicly apologize to Maya Chun for his assault. He will then submit to a tribunal for his crimes against a human citizen. In addition, the Corvin Empire will pay reparations of 1 billion credits to be distributed among human colonies that have suffered from Corvin aggression. Impossible, General Vorthak snarled. We will never. His words were cut off as every light in the war room flickered. Emergency power kicked in, then died. Backup systems failed. In the space of seconds, the most secure facility in the Corvin Empire was plunged into darkness. When the lights returned, Captain Torres was standing in the room with them. She was smaller than any of the Corvins, barely reaching their shoulders. Her uniform was simple, practical, bearing no ornate decorations or symbols of rank. But there was something in her eyes, a cold, calculating intelligence that made even the bravest Corvin warriors step back. Gentlemen, she said pleasantly, as if she were attending a dinner party rather than materializing in the heart of enemy territory. I thought it would be more productive to discuss this in person. How? Admiral Korthaz whispered. How are you here? Captain Torres gestured casually at the air around her. Holographic projection? Temporal displacement? Teleportation technology? Does it matter? The point is that if I can appear in your most secure facility, if I can disable your defenses without firing a shot, if I can make your ships disappear without a trace, then perhaps you should reconsider who holds the superior position in this negotiation. She walked to the tactical display, her image solid and real despite the impossibility of her presence. Your empire spans 12 systems. You have a total military force of approximately 800 combat vessels. Your technology is based on brute force, heavy armor, powerful weapons, overwhelming firepower. It served you well against enemies who fight the same way. The display changed to show a map of Corvin space. Suddenly, red dots appeared throughout their territory. Hundreds of them, but were not your usual enemies. Right now, there are human operatives on every one of your worlds. Our ships are positioned at every major military installation, every government center, every critical infrastructure node. Your communications are compromised. Your computer systems are infected with our viruses. Your supply lines are monitored and can be cut at any moment. General Vorthak drew his sidearm, a massive plasma pistol that could punch through ship armor. He aimed it directly at the human captain. "Surrender or die," he growled. Captain Torres looked at the weapon with mild interest. "Impressive firepower, General. But you're aiming at a projection. I'm actually aboard my ship, several light years away. Though if you'd like to see what happens when you threaten a human officer." She raised her hand, and General Vorthak screamed. His weapon began to smoke, then glow white-hot. He dropped it, nursing burned fingers, staring at the human in shock. "Nanomachines," she explained casually. "Introduced into your facility's air supply several days ago. Completely invisible, perfectly safe under normal circumstances. But they respond to certain commands. They can heat metal, disrupt electronics, or ... She gestured, and every Corvin in the room suddenly felt a sharp pain in their chest. Interfere with biological functions. The pain vanished as quickly as it had come, but the message was clear. "Admiral," Captain Torres continued, turning back to Korthos, "your people pride themselves on being warriors. I respect that. But being a warrior and being a soldier are two different things. Warriors fight for honor, for glory, for the thrill of combat. Soldiers fight to win by any means necessary. Guess which one humanity produces?" Admiral Korthas stared at this small human female who had somehow turned his greatest military leaders into helpless children. Everything he thought he knew about. The balance of power in the galaxy had just been shattered. 72 hours, he said finally. "Excellent choice. Commander Zektar will be delivered to Nexus Station. He will apologize publicly. He will submit to trial. Reparations will be paid? An admiral?" Captain Torres' expression hardened. "This is the first and only time humanity will offer such generous terms. The next Corvin who harms a human will discover that we can be far less ... diplomatic." Her image began to fade. "Your ships and crews will be returned unharmed once our terms are met. Consider this a learning experience, gentlemen. The galaxy is changing. Those who adapt will prosper. Those who don single quotes ... She shrugged. "Well, evolution has never been kind to species that can't adapt." She vanished, leaving the Corvin leadership alone with their fears and the terrible realization of what they had awakened. On Nexus Station, Maya Chun stood at the viewport in her quarters, watching the stars. Her face was healing, but the memory of the assault would stay with her forever. Not because of the physical pain, but because of what it represented. The casual cruelty that powerful species inflicted on those they deemed inferior. Her communication panel chimed. "A message from Earth Command. Justice is coming." "Thank you for your patience," Maya smiled. She had always been proud to be human, but never more than now. Her people didn't just protect their own. They made sure the universe understood the cost of crossing them. 72 hours later, Commander Zektar stood on the same deck where he had assaulted Maya Shun. But now he was the one looking up, facing the assembled representatives of dozens of species. His proud uniform had been replaced with simple clothing. His arrogant bearing was gone, replaced by the hunched posture of the defeated. "I, Commander Zektar of the Corvin Empire," sighed, his voice barely above a whisper, "publicly apologized to Engineer Maya Chun for my unprovoked assault. I was wrong. My actions were those of a coward, not a warrior. I submit myself to human justice and accept whatever punishment they deem appropriate." Asterisk Maya stood before him, calm and dignified. "Apology accepted, Commander. I hope this serves as a lesson, not just to you, but to everyone watching. Humanity judges by character, not by species. We offer friendship to those who deserve it. But we also remember those who choose to be our enemies. As Ziktar was led away to face trial, word spread throughout the galaxy. The humans, those peaceful traders and diplomats from the Outer Rim, had just humbled one of the sector's greatest military powers without firing a shot in anger that the balance of power had shifted. The galaxy was learning what it meant to have humanity as either friend or foe. And deep in Earth's command centers, Admiral Harrison closed the file on Operation Reckoning and opened another. The galaxy was vast, and there were many species who still thought humans were weak. It was time to correct that misunderstanding, one lesson at a time.